I was working 2 jobs, and one day when I came home early, I heard her say to a neighbor, "He's pathetic. Thinks recycling makes a man out of him. Good thing I don't have to pretend to like him anymore." She laughed. "Girl, you deserve better than that." And she smirked. "I've already found better." I silently put our anniversary dinner on the table and left. Yesterday, she started calling nonstop. I never thought I'd be the guy airing his relationship meltdown online, but here I am, 2:41 a.m., sitting on a sketchy motel bed with cigarette burns on the blanket and a fridge that hums like it's dying. My hands won't stop shaking, and I still can't wrap my head around how 7 years of marriage unraveled in less than a minute. My name's Ethan. I'm 32. For the past 4 months, I've been running on fumes, working 2 jobs back-to-back. Day shift at a manufacturing plant from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., then straight to a warehouse from 6 p.m. to midnight. 5 hours of sleep if I was lucky. I did it because Ava, my wife, 30, had a dream of launching her own online boutique. It hadn't turned a profit yet, but she swore it was on the edge of exploding. I believed her. I believed in us. Today was our 7th wedding anniversary. I pulled some strings at the plant to switch shifts so I could surprise her and be home by 5 instead of midnight. I wanted to do something special. I stopped at this fancy steakhouse downtown, $300 on takeout steaks, her favorite wine, and those chocolate lava cakes she always used to moan about. I even bought real flowers from an actual florist, not the sad half-dead ones from the supermarket. I was exhausted. I hadn't had a proper meal or a slow breath in weeks, but I still felt excited. Like maybe this little surprise would remind us both what we were working so hard for. When I pulled into our apartment complex around 4:45 p.m., I noticed Liam's car in the guest spot. Nothing weird, he lives across the hall. He's helped Ava with stuff when I was at work. Always polite, we've shared a beer or 2 after work. Just a chill, regular guy. I walked up the 3 flights to our apartment, carefully balancing the food, wine, and flowers. The front door wasn't fully closed, it was slightly ajar. I figured she'd just stepped out for a second. Then I heard voices. Hers. His. At first, I didn't want to listen. I told myself it was nothing. But curiosity got the better of me. I froze when I heard her laugh, the soft, smug kind of laugh I hadn't heard in a long time. And then clear as day. "He's pathetic. Thinks working himself to death makes him some kind of man." Liam chuckled. "You could do way better." She didn't hesitate. "Trust me. I already am." That line, those 4 words, they hit harder than any punch I've ever taken. The way she said it, so satisfied, like she was proud of it. I just stood there. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. It felt like the hallway shrank around me. I didn't kick the door open. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I stepped inside quietly, walked to the kitchen, and set everything down. The food. The flowers. The wine. All of it. I stood there, 10 feet away from them in the living room. She had her hand on his arm. Her head tilted toward him in that way she used to do with me. They didn't even see me. That's the thing about pain. Real pain. It doesn't always make you explode. Sometimes it makes you colder than ice. I didn't slam the door. I just pulled it closed behind me and walked back down the stairs. I drove. No destination. Just drove around town while the sky turned orange, then blue, then black. My phone started buzzing around 6. I ignored it. By 8 p.m. I had 47 missed calls. I finally turned it off. I checked into the cheapest motel I could find, $34 a night. Room smells like mildew. TV doesn't work. I sat on the edge of the bed for what felt like hours, just staring at the wall. 7 years. 7 years of sacrifices, missed weekends, skipped meals, overtime hours, budgeting, and believing. All flushed down the toilet because my wife decided I wasn't enough while I was out breaking my back to build us a future. My brother Timothy always warned me. Said Ava had champagne tastes and 0 patience. I didn't listen. I thought he just didn't understand her. Turns out he understood her better than I ever did. She's been laughing behind my back while I was too tired to see it coming. I gave her everything. Everything. And she gave herself to the guy across the hall. Around midnight, I turned my phone back on. 26 new missed calls. 8 voicemails I still haven't listened to. A few texts from my brother asking if we were still on for basketball this weekend. Quinn, my best friend, messaged me too, said Ava called him in a panic asking if he'd seen me. I texted back one line, "At a motel. Marriage is over. Talk tomorrow." He replied, "Holy shit." Then added, "You can crash at my place anytime." I might take him up on that tomorrow. I can't keep living in this dump. But tonight, I need the isolation. I keep replaying her words in my head, trust me. I already am. Over and over like a scratched record. I keep thinking, was any of it real? The late-night talks, the road trips, the inside jokes, the way she used to look at me like I was her whole world, was it all fake? I thought about going home. Thought about confrontation. But what's the point? She already made her choice. She's already moved on while I was still catching my breath. The worst part? Every penny we have is in joint accounts. The money I killed myself to save, she has access to all of it. I need to act fast. First thing in the morning, I'll hit the bank. Lock down my finances. Then find a lawyer. Then I don't know. But I do know one thing. Ava thought I was weak because I kept quiet. Because I never complained. Because I kept pushing through. But she forgot one thing, those long hours didn't just make me tired. They made me resilient. They made me hard. Tomorrow, I begin the process of cutting her out of my life, piece by piece. I didn't sleep much that night in the motel. I just lay there on that lumpy mattress, staring at the cracked ceiling while the air conditioner coughed dust into the room. The sun came up, pale and indifferent, and I still hadn't decided if I was going back to work or straight to the bank. I'd never called out from either job. Not once in 5 years. But that morning I did. Twice. At 8:57 a.m. I walked into a local credit union down the block, dark circles under my eyes and a buzzing in my head that felt like a short circuit. I told the woman behind the counter I needed to separate my finances immediately. When she asked if I had any concerns about the joint account, I didn't say much. Just nodded and said, yeah, something like that. 14 grand. That's what I transferred out of our joint savings into a brand new account under just my name. I left enough in the old one to cover rent and bills for the month, not for her, but because I didn't want our power shut off or our landlord breathing down my neck while everything else was falling apart. It took a few hours to reroute my direct deposits, order a new debit card, change all my passwords, and freeze the joint credit card. I removed Ava as an authorized user on everything. That part hurt more than I thought it would. You don't realize how much of your life is entangled with someone until you start cutting it loose. It felt like digging out a rotten tooth with your bare hands, necessary but brutal. By the time I stepped back outside, the day felt brighter. Not better, but clearer. My phone had blown up while I was inside, 64 missed calls from Ava, a handful of voicemails I didn't listen to, and a barrage of texts. I read none of them. Instead, I sent her one text. I heard everything. Don't contact me again. Then I muted her number. That was the first time I felt any control since it happened. Cold? Maybe. But not colder than calling your husband pathetic behind his back while holding hands with the guy next door. That afternoon, I called a lawyer, first one I found with decent reviews online. Cost me $400 for a 1-hour consultation, which, given my new budget mindset, stung. But it was worth every cent. He walked me through the divorce laws in our state. Turns out adultery still matters here, at least when it comes to things like spousal support. He told me to start gathering evidence and to only communicate with Ava through text or email, keep a paper trail, always. I asked if I should confront Liam. The lawyer raised an eyebrow and said, only if you want to give him ammunition. That shut that down fast. Meanwhile, Ava went full panic mode. She called my brother, Timothy, 4 times. Called my parents. Even reached out to Quinn, my best friend. Her version of events? That I disappeared after a misunderstanding and she was so worried about me. That part almost made me laugh. Timothy called me after. Said she sounded frantic. I told him the truth, everything. His reaction? I told you something was off about her. He never liked Ava much. My mom, well, she didn't hold back. She called Ava directly and told her she'd always known she was too selfish to be a real partner. My dad just hung up on her. No drama. Just silence. I didn't know they had it in them. That support meant more than I can explain. By day 5, Ava was unraveling. She showed up at my job during lunch break, crying in the lobby, asking to talk. The receptionist called back to tell me my wife was in some kind of distress. I said I couldn't come out, personal emergency. Security had to ask her to leave. I watched from the break room blinds as she walked out in tears. I didn't feel angry. Or smug. Just empty. That night, I officially moved into Quinn's 1-bedroom apartment. It's not much, just a worn-out couch in a place that smells like microwave dinners and gym socks, but it was safe. It was mine in a way that home hadn't felt in weeks. Quinn was a rock. No questions, no pity, just support. He even started helping me screenshot everything, her texts, calls, social media posts, saving them in folders labeled legal on a shared drive. The voicemails? I still haven't listened to them. I can't. Not yet. Late at night, when neither of us could sleep, we'd play racing games on his old console. Just two 30-somethings pretending we were kids again for a few hours. That simple routine kept me sane. By week 2, I stopped hiding. I started being honest with the people who asked why I wasn't home. I didn't try to manipulate anything or play the victim. I just told the truth. She called me pathetic. She's been cheating. I needed to get away. Turns out that was enough. People listened. People took sides. Not because I asked them to, but because when someone works 2 jobs to support their spouse's dream and that spouse spits in their face, it kind of draws its own line in the sand. Ava started losing support quickly. Her Instagram photos stopped getting likes. Group invites dried up. Her business partner Ruth, who I've known since college, even reached out to say she needed to reconsider things before going forward on joint projects. Ava was losing the image she'd spent years curating, and she didn't know how to handle it. And I was tired, but I was awake for the first time in a long time. I started sleeping 6 hours instead of 4. Started eating actual meals. Started thinking about the next steps, not just how to survive the fallout, but how to move forward. Then on day 10, I broke one of the rules my lawyer gave me. I walked into the store where Liam works. I didn't make a scene. Just waited until the customers cleared out and walked up to him. I know, I said. Every word. Every text. Every Tuesday afternoon. He turned ghost white. Started stammering, saying they were just friends, that it was a mistake. I smiled, calm, cold, quiet. Then I turned around and walked out. According to one of Quinn's friends who works with Ava, Liam's phone blew up minutes later. Panic texts, missed calls. Looks like the fantasy was cracking. Funny how guys like that are happy to sleep with someone's wife, but run the second consequences show up. It's strange how quickly your mind adapts to betrayal. At first, I felt like I was drowning in it. Every thought hurt. Every minute was a reminder. But somewhere around the 2-week mark, I stopped reacting. I started calculating. I went back to the apartment on day 13. I knew Ava had yoga every Thursday at 6:30. Same class, same time, same leggings and water bottle with a girl boss sticker. She had no idea I still had a key. I let myself in quietly. The place was a mess, takeout boxes stacked on the counter, laundry everywhere, a weird smell of rotting flowers and air freshener. The bouquet I had left on our anniversary was still in the vase, petals curled and brown. No water. Just dead things in glass. I didn't come to clean. I came to protect myself. With Quinn's help, I'd picked up a couple of small motion-activated cameras. Totally legal, common areas only. No bedroom. No bathroom. I'm not a creep. I just needed to document who came and went and in what condition the place was being kept. My lawyer said the more records I had, the better. So I set up the first camera near the entryway and the second near the kitchen. Quick. Clean. Undetectable. While I was there, I found a folder in the drawer by her desk labeled Biz Expenses. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Credit card statements. Unpaid invoices. Bank notices. One word echoed in my brain as I flipped through the pages: debt. $32,000 in the red. Her little boutique wasn't just struggling, it was drowning. And she'd kept that from me the entire time I was working 70-hour weeks to support it. I took photos of everything. I left the apartment exactly as I found it and locked the door behind me. I didn't take anything. I didn't touch her. I just gathered truth. The next day, day 14, I did something I didn't think I had the stomach for. I answered one of Ava's calls. She sounded awful. Her voice was raw, like she'd been crying for hours. Maybe days. I didn't speak at first. I just let her talk. And she did. For minutes and 14 seconds of rambling. She said she made a mistake. That she was confused. That it meant nothing with Liam. That she was lonely. That she missed me. That she wanted to talk. When she finally paused, I said one thing. Dinner tomorrow night? 7 p.m. Our place. She agreed immediately. Practically sobbed with relief. I could hear it in her voice. She thought this was the turning point. That forgiveness was on the table. She had no idea what was really coming. I spent that entire night preparing. I booked nothing. There was no dinner reservation. No candles. No wine. Just my plan. I invited my parents. Her parents. Our 4 closest mutual friends. I told them it was important. I didn't get into details, just asked them to be there. Quinn helped me put together a presentation. Nothing fancy. Just slides on a TV screen. Screenshots of texts between her and Liam. Her secret purchases. Credit card statements. A short clip from the camera showing Liam entering our apartment at 2:13 p.m. on a Tuesday when she was supposed to be at work. I even clipped the audio of what I heard that day through the cracked door. Her voice calling me pathetic. Admitting she was already cheating. That 10-second clip had been burned into my memory, but now it was ready to be burned into hers. I didn't sleep that night, but not from grief. From focus. Quinn stayed up with me, running through the timing. Her parents were set to arrive at 6:15. Mine at 6:20. The rest between 6:25 and 6:30. Ava would show up at 7 o'clock sharp, thinking she was walking into a romantic reunion. Instead, she'd be stepping into a courtroom without a judge. Timothy thought it was too much. "Isn't this just cruelty?" he asked. I told him it wasn't about cruelty. It was about clarity. She didn't just cheat on me, she gaslit me while I worked myself into the ground. She mocked me behind my back. She made me doubt myself. If anything, I was giving her a fair trial with witnesses. The day of the dinner came fast. I put on a clean shirt, cleaned the apartment just enough to not look suspicious, and got everything in place. Quinn helped me wire the TV, load the slideshow, arrange the printouts. He even picked up pizza for everyone afterward because apparently calling out a cheater makes you hungry. At 5:45, my phone buzzed. Text from Ava. "I'm coming early. Can't wait another minute to see you." No. She wasn't supposed to arrive for another hour. I looked around. The TV was lit up with the first slide. My parents hadn't even left their house yet. I was still brushing my damn teeth. I sent out a mass text to everyone. "She's coming early. Rush if you can." But I already knew the first 20 minutes would be just me and her. Alone. Not part of the plan. At 5:51, I heard her key in the lock. I walked out of the bathroom just as she stepped inside, holding a bottle of wine and wearing the blue dress I bought her last year for her birthday. She smiled through watery eyes. "I brought this because I figured you probably didn't have anything nice to drink." Even in her apology, she couldn't resist slipping in a dig. It snapped me back into place. She went through the performance. Tears, confessions, promises. Said it only happened twice. Said she was overwhelmed. Said she'd cut Liam off forever. She sat on the couch, reached for my hand, pulled away. At 6:17, the doorbell rang. Her parents walked in. The look on her face was cinematic. Confused, panicked, betrayed. More footsteps, more knocks. By 6:32, everyone was there, and I was just getting started. The living room felt like it couldn't hold the weight of the people inside it. 9 of us, packed into a space that usually just held 2. Everyone sat quiet, watching, not sure if they just walked into a dinner party or a disaster. Ava was frozen on the couch, still holding that bottle of wine like it was an anchor keeping her from floating away. She kept glancing around the room, first at her mom, then at mine, then back at me. Her lips parted like she wanted to speak, but no words came. I stood up. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," I said. My voice was calm, too calm. "Ava and I have been dealing with some communication issues, and I thought it was time we brought everything into the open." Ava's face turned pale. "Ethan, what is this?" But I didn't answer her. Instead, I hit play. Slide 1 came up on the TV. A screenshot of our joint bank account, showing the steady deposits from my 2 jobs. For months of exhausting work. Documented line by line. Slide 2. Ava's hidden credit card statements. Charges at expensive lingerie stores, hotels, lunch spots she never mentioned. Slide 3. Text messages. Snippets of conversations between her and Liam. Flirty, intimate, undeniable. Slide 4. Security cam footage. Liam entering the apartment while I was on shift. Tuesday at 2:13 p.m. Like clockwork. The room stayed silent except for a sharp, involuntary gasp. Ava's mom. Her hand flew to her mouth. Her dad just shook his head slowly and sat down like his knees had given out. Then came the audio clip. Just 10 seconds, but it was more than enough. Ava's voice through the speakers. Sharp and crystal clear. "He's pathetic. Thinks working himself to death makes him special. I'm just glad I don't have to pretend to want him anymore. Then Liam's chuckle. You could do way better. And Ava again. That same smug tone I'll never forget. Trust me. I already am. I hit pause. No one said anything. Ava stood up slowly. That recording is fake, she whispered. You edited it. You're trying to make me look. Don't, her dad said. Just one word. Quiet. Final. She looked at him, desperate. Dad, you lied to him. To all of us. Her mom didn't say a word. She just stood and followed him toward the door. My own parents sat side by side on the love seat. My mom had my dad's hand in a death grip, and her jaw was clenched so tight I thought she might crack a tooth. I'm not done, I said. One more thing. I stepped aside and pulled out the folder of Ava's business records. Copies of the debt, the unpaid invoices, the overdraft notices. Ava's business isn't just unprofitable, I said. It's $32,000 in the red, and she's been hiding it. From me, from her own partner. While I worked 16-hour days, she was quietly burying us in debt. That's when Ruth, Ava's longtime friend and business collaborator, stood up. You told me we were even, she said. You said we were breaking even and that the rest was just temporary. Ava looked like she couldn't breathe. Ruth, I didn't know how to. Ruth didn't wait for the end of the sentence. She just shook her head and walked out. One by one, the others followed. Timothy gave me a nod. My parents hugged me on the way out. Her parents didn't say goodbye at all. Eventually, it was just me, Ava, and Quinn, who had been quiet in the corner the whole time. She sat back down on the couch like her legs had collapsed under the weight of it all. I didn't mean for it to go like this, she whispered. Liam doesn't even matter. Panicked. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. I messed up. But I still love you. I didn't say anything. She kept going. We could go to counseling. We could fix it. I'll cut off contact with him. I'll do whatever you want. Please. I walked into the kitchen, opened a drawer, and pulled out an envelope. Inside, divorce papers, prepped and ready. You have 48 hours to find somewhere else to stay, I said quietly. The lease is in my name until it ends. After that, I'm moving out. This place has too many ghosts. She didn't cry. I think she wanted to, but nothing came out. Just a slow nod. Then she stood and left. The weeks that followed were mechanical. Paperwork. Lawyer meetings. Packing. She stayed with her parents while I kept the apartment, counting the days until the lease was up. We didn't fight. There was nothing left to fight for. The divorce finalized just over 2 months later. Because I had proof of the affair and financial deception, I wasn't obligated to pay any alimony. She kept her business, I kept my savings. Fair in the eyes of the court. Quinn helped me move into a smaller place near work. My brother brought over beer and takeout. We sat on the new balcony, the three of us, watching traffic roll by in the quiet. It wasn't peace exactly, but it was the closest I'd felt to it in months. Ava's boutique folded not long after. Without my income, it couldn't stay afloat. Liam apparently ghosted her the moment things got real. Classic Liam. I saw her once more, grocery store, 3 months post-divorce. We ended up in the same checkout line. She looked tired, worn down. She asked how I was. I said I was fine. She said she was seeing a therapist. I said, good. Then we stood in silence while the cashier scanned my frozen meals. That was it. Closure, I guess. 6 months have passed. I still have bad nights. I still wake up reaching for someone who isn't there. But I'm not broken. I'm just rebuilding. There's no moral to this story. Or maybe there is. Maybe it's this. Sometimes the person you give everything to is the one who takes it all and walks away without a second thought. But even then, especially then, you don't give up on yourself. Because you were never the weak one. You were just with the wrong person.